Good evening, everyone. It is once again time to dust off the mask. Tonight I think I'm just going to share about some of the games I played throughout this month for the most part. The main ones being Subnautica 2, Pragmata, and, what was it called? Mouse PI for Hire. I think I'll start with Mouse PI for Hire first. Its animation style is 1930s rubber hose. If you don't know what that is, it's like the old cartoons of Popeye, Betty Boop, Mickey Mouse, or Willie and the Steamboat, it might have been called. Mickey and the Steamboat, something like that. Uh, when you load up the game for the first time, you can actually choose between three different visuals for it. Well, not really three different visuals, but it affects the visuals and the audios. One where you can have it look clean and the sounds come out very crisp. Then you can have it be kind of grainy and the audio sound a little fuzzy. And then the third one is like the authentic vintage audio and visual style, which seemed pretty interesting. But for my playthrough, I just went with the standard one, clean, crisp audio and everything. Just because I felt like hearing that audio in the old way that it would just kind of make my ears feel fuzzy, and I didn't want to have to deal with that the whole time. But as for the story, spoilers ahead by the way, you've been warned, you follow a mouse called Jack Cheddar. It starts you off with trying to find some missing mice, which are like little mice. They kind of have a racial distinction between the two in a way, between tall mice and small mice. It's interesting, but yeah, that's the tone they were going for. But you're tasked with finding out what happened to these small mice that have been going missing, and it leads down this whole chain of events of corrupt officials and corrupt policemen and a whole spiraling network of just terrible ongoings. A lot of the level designs for it, I'd say, are pretty well done. They've definitely got secrets hidden in there. Some of them are hidden pretty well. Some of them kind of confused me. Like, you would just turn a corner that looked obvious and it would be considered a secret found. And the weirder part is that in these secret found areas, some of them were kind of hard to figure out what it exactly was the secret. Some of them were, I think they were like just big cache piles, which is okay. Some of them were schematics, which I'll get into that later, but they're used for weapon upgrading. And another one was for baseball cards, just like a collectible for the game, which you could use in a different minigame that we'll get back to, or that we'll get to later. But a lot of the locations were definitely diverse. You had places like an opera house. One of them was oh, hi, Shinx. Hi, buddy. Come here. Come here, Shinx. Hi, buddy. My cat just walked in. Well, one of them. The other one's been sitting on my lap this whole time. Shinx, come here. Come here, Shinx. Hi. I don't know if you can actually hear him. Shinx. Say hi. Say hi, Shinx. No, you don't want to say hi? Oh, that was kind of funny. Our black and white cat Shinx is in here now, so maybe he'll give his opinion on some other things. Alright, getting back on topic, where was I? locations. One of them's like an opera house. Another one's a blimp that you will be on. Another one was a police station, and another one was a secret cult lair of science or something. Uh, Definitely a lot of interesting places. The length of each of the maps wasn't too terribly long. A lot of them were looping back around, but I'd say if you were really, really speeding through it and not really looking for everything, you could probably get through each level in about 20 to 40 minutes, but giving it a thorough run through between 50 to an hour, which I think is pretty good for level designs. And you've got quite a few of them to go through. I think there were 14 or 14 or 16 chapters to go through. But going through each of those levels was one thing you could do. Then eventually, uh, while you progress the story, you can unlock or just get access to side missions. One thing that I kind of didn't like about those side missions, though, is that they weren't like their own separate thing. They were a tie-in to the level you were doing. So if you had to go, uh, and if you didn't see them in the hub area for the game, which is just Jack Cheddar's office, there's a few other things there. There's a bar that you can talk to a friend of Jack's and interact with a couple of other characters there, and then another place where you can upgrade your weaponry that you receive, and another one for playing a baseball card game, which I'll cover soon enough. Crap, where was I? Shinx, what are you doing? Shinx, come here. What are you doing? And my cat Shinx has just jumped into my closet and now he's just staring at me. Cats. Crap, where was I? Right, the side quests. So, while they do have kind of like a compass at the top of the screen for you to look at it, sometimes you don't notice them, and if you don't pick up the side quest before you go and do the mission that it's tied into, you lose out on that. And the rewards for it aren't really that great. They're like coins that you can get to put into this vending machine to get a unique weapon. But the baseball game I was mentioning before, you can play that a couple of times just for. It's not too terrible. It could take a while, but you honestly, you can do that either or. But a lot of the side missions, they're a one and done thing. If you miss them, they're gone. I'd say the story was decent. I'd say the story was decent. You met a few people along the way, but none of them were really anyone that would stick around. There's only 3 characters that really mattered in the whole story. Aside from the villain. Or the main bad guy of the story. But I'd say to wrap up for locations, they were all pretty unique for their own part, and they all had their certain gimmicks where you could shoot things from the ceiling that were suspended there, and they'd fall and crush guys. But that, aside from just exploration, wasn't too much to really talk about on levels. But as we all know, the end of levels are always capped off with a boss, and that I think the game did incredibly well. Because each boss in that game was very, very unique on how you actually had to fight it. Some of them were, I'd say the least exciting bosses in the game were some that were like pseudo mini bosses where they were just waves of enemies coming at you, and usually in those scenarios they'd give you certain power-ups. They're not exactly weapons, but there's like a fire pepper that any of the attacks you do with anything sets them on fire. Then one of them, I think you were eating like spinach or something and kind of uh, miming Popeye, because your arms would like bulge up with muscles, and then you could just infinitely punch because in the combat it does have a stamina bar. But yeah, you'd eat some spinach and then you'd just be able to lay fists out. Another one was tea. You drank some tea and then you had a pointer finger gun that you could just shoot at people. That one was probably the strangest one out of them all. Um, but a lot of the bosses, as I was saying, are all unique. I think it's one of the earlier bosses is kind of like this robot that you have to deal with, and you have to go to certain places and kind of short circuit her before you could actually deal any meaningful damage. Otherwise, you'd just be dodging the hell out of everything. I think my favorite boss to fight was probably the one in the cemetery, where that one you had to use a completely different mechanic in the game. Like, you didn't use your weapons at all, and the way you had to fight her was the most interesting. I think what I'll talk about next is the weapons, because you did get quite a few of them, and a lot of them you'd get throughout the story. There was only one or two, I believe, that you got in a different way. One being through a baseball minigame, and I think another one was just a reward from a side quest, but I don't recall. But the first weapon you got was the Micer. It's just a pistol. I'm not gonna play around it or, you know, try to try to make it sound super impressive. It's just your sturdy, everyday old pistol. But it'll definitely get you through most of the game. Well, of course it will. It's your starting weapon. But what I mean is that it's always going to be a very reliable choice, because some of the weapons are, I'd say there's a niche for them, but when I played, there were only maybe like 5 of the 12 weapons that I really stuck with. Some of them I just really didn't like. But the pistol was always just a good fallback. Decent damage, good range, but not the quickest at dispatching everyone. Let me pull up the thing for it. Oh, right. I'd actually completely forgotten. Your very first weapon in the game is actually your fists. They're labeled as mitts. They have a stamina bar. They actually did pretty decent, pretty decent at combat. I think it took only maybe about 5 hits with your fists to take down the enemies. Uh, how do you pronounce the Devon Devarnisher? I think it's pronounced a Varnisher. That weapon is probably one of the most powerful weapons in the game. It's this acid splashing gun where it's honestly a bit overtuned. Most for the combat, there are multiple different types of enemies. Most of them are normal looking mice, then there are small mice, then there are these big fat tough dudes that come barreling at you. Then you've got these really tall mice that are snipers that'll shoot you, and really annoyingly they'll sink into the floor and then pop up randomly somewhere else. I really did not like those enemies. But most of the enemies you'll fight are the normal looking mice ones that are always around. They've got baseball bats, Tommy guns, a shield and club. But the Devarshner, it's like a one-hit kill on a majority of them because you'll hit them with one projectile and they'll like get stun locked by it. So you'll just see this splashing animation constantly around them, and then they melt into bones and they're dead. It's just they're a one-hit wonder. On some of the bigger enemies, like the big fat ones that would run at you, or the snipers, it would take 2 or 3 projectiles, but it would get rid of them very quickly. Yeah, in my honest opinion, the Devar Devar Devarnisher Devarnisher is probably the most overtuned weapon in that entire game because it comes with a pretty decent ammo size. Projectile speed is amazing. It's just overtuned. But the next one gun is the James gun, or just a Tommy gun, but I think that one was probably the most reliable weapon because whenever I was in hard spots in the game and just really having a difficult time with the mission, pulling that one out, it usually just got me through it every time. It clears out the rooms really fast. I think it's got the biggest ammo capacity in the game, and yeah, the James gun. The next one is the boomstick. It's just a shotgun. There's really... Wait, is this the one that's like that? Yeah, the boomstick. It's just a shotgun. We all know how shotguns do. Close range. One taps most things. Nothing more else to say there. The next one was called the portable freezer. That one's a very late game weapon, but I personally didn't really like it all that much. It just sends out this beam that freezes enemies, and I think if their health pool is too big, it doesn't kill them, but it keeps them frozen in place. But I never really found that much use for it, so I didn't use it all that often. The next one is the Kiss Kiss. It's another shotgun, but it's actually more like... It's more like the Hellraiser from Doom, I think. It's like the Doom shotgun. It's a... How much ammo did this thing have? I think it's a 2-shot shotgun. Pull the trigger once, it fires both, and just sets them on fire. That's really all it is. It's an upgrade shotgun, but it's got way less ammo capacity. The next one is the Jarhead. This one I actually don't recall this one. What was the Jarhead? Oh, wait, yeah, no, I remember the Jarhead now. The Jarhead is probably the weirdest weapon in here. It's a literal brain in a gun, and you send out psychic waves with it to make people's heads pop. It was it was definitely the most interesting one. Uh, yeah. Another one of the ones that was like you really don't use them all that often. It was more so for like breaking environments at a longer range. Was the loose cannon? It was just a one-shot cannon. You reload it after every shot. It was mostly just used to destroy certain land structures, just so you could uh, get to next areas or find certain secrets. Which was also what the next weapon, the dynamite, was used, or dynamite. Yes, that's how they call it in that game. It was just a stick of dynamite that you threw to blow up certain environmental stuff. You could use the other two as weapons, but they weren't that great at it. The last weapon of the game was the Hellraiser, and it's a bone chainsaw. It surprisingly is not a melee weapon. It sends out waves of like these spiraling bone fragments at people. So yes, ranged chainsaw play. Now, another thing about the weapons that I didn't talk about is that you can actually upgrade them. A lot of them were, just like damage increase, clip size, max ammo. Some of them had other unique modifiers like spread recoils reduced. Some of them were how many projectiles were a part of it for the shotguns. The portable freezer was faster freezing. Still not that great. Some of it was pushback for other guns. Uh, Others were projectile speed, and so on and stuff like that. But what's more important is actually the alternative fires for each of the weapons. Well, I say each of the weapons, but the dynamite and the Hellraiser were not upgradable weapons. And actually, looking over this list again, there is one weapon on here that they didn't include, which is the minigame one. It was like this laser that you also couldn't upgrade, and it was honestly underwhelming. I did not like it at all. The ammo for it was super rare, and its damage output was not great. And most disappointing is that you had to get 20 coins to unlock it from the baseball minigame, and you could only win a single coin each time, and it cost you $50 every single time, $50 in game cash every single time you wanted to play it. And because of how that game played, it took a while to actually get it. So, not worth it, honestly. But going back to the alternative fire for each one, the Meiser was a triple round burst. I think that's what it was. Yep, a triple round accurate fire burst. The Devarshner was a it's kind of like a stationary projectile or like a sticky projectile that would stay on them and keep doing damage over time, then pop and hit multiple things. The the James gun was a spray and sweep, and it actually had a bit of a lock on as well. Not a great lock on, but if they were close enough together, it seemed to hit very consistently. So another reason why it was really good at keeping you in the fight, because while I think the damage does go down or no, I think it goes up a bit. and you lose a lot of accuracy, it still hit pretty good. For the shotgun, it was interesting. Its alternative fire was a charge shot. You could hold it for a second, and I think it would consume 3 ammo and expend it all at once. But the upgrading for that also gave it piercing to enemies. So the first upgrade, I believe, was piercing 2 enemies. The second one was piercing 3 enemies. The portable freezer was like an ice projectile. It wasn't that great, honestly. The Kiss Kiss's alternative heavy fire was like kind of like this big wide AoE explosion out of the shotgun that would just kind of hit everything in front of you. And the Jarhead's was this focused beam that did massive headshot damage. The Loose Cannon also did actually have a alternative fire where it basically just turned the cannon's projectile into like a grenade and just shrapnel fired everything everywhere. It was interesting. But that's all there really is for the weapons. One of the nice mini games in it was this baseball one that I was telling you about before. So it worked with a small deck, and you had certain cards with certain values. You had a batter deck and a pitcher deck. You do 2 rounds of innings you do 2 rounds of batter and pitcher with 5 turns for both. And at first it was kind of like maybe you need a bit of strategy, but as you progressed through the game's story, found secrets, and got more baseball cards, you kind of realize that eventually you can just brute force the mini game, which it's not entirely bad. The only real strategy that I could really figure out is that if you saw the opponent put down 2 cards, because you do them face down from each other and then flip them up to determine who wins, based on the card's higher value. So if the batter had a higher value than the pitcher, you'd be able to hit the ball, and then the movement speed would be put on the card, so that's how many bases you'd run. Most of them were 1s. There were a couple 2s, and rarely there were some 3 movements on them. And then the pitchers, same deal. If their pitcher number was higher than the batters, then the ball would be caught and the batter wouldn't move on. But even if there were other people on bases, they had a movement decreasing debuff on them. So if you had one guy on second base and your pitcher had a 2 movement debuff or 1 movement debuff, then the batter could only move 1 space. I think it took me about a week to actually beat the game just because of how my busy schedule was. But overall, I really enjoyed the game. It definitely had its humor. It was definitely quirky in some places. But I think overall it was a really well done game. The music on it was fantastic. It really felt, I think it was kind of jazzy music. And it really kept you in the mood of things. Or I guess not really mood, but it was like, it kept you pumped in throughout it. But that's my thoughts on Mouse PI. I definitely know that was really really badly done, but I'm still figuring out how to really do this. I might have to start writing scripts just to make sure that everything sounds coherent enough. Uh, but the other game that I played this month was the Pragmata game. That one I was a little concerned about because I kept hearing that you had to do first person shooting and hacking mini games at the same time. But once you actually really got into it's really not that bad. The hacking mini game is just when you're aiming down sights at a target. Uh, Depending on your controller, I play on Xbox, so the X, Y, B, A buttons that's what you use to hack it. X to go up, B to go right, or no, X to go left, Y to go up, B to go right, A to go down. Uh, and on that, I think the only part I didn't like about the hacking was that you lose the ability to use A as a jump button because there are some enemy attacks in the game that basically the girl with you tells you to jump away from. But if you're in the middle of a hack, sometimes you'll get hit by that before you can uh, leave the targeting reticle and jump away. So you usually just have to use the right bumper dodge button. Uh, but the story on that one's also. I haven't finished the game yet, but I've been enjoying it. The story's about you're I think you're like a repair crewman, and you go to this moon colony where they found some. I want to call it like a filament that can on the moon that can reproduce anything on Earth aside from like food. I think. I mean, maybe it could even do that. I'm not sure, but it's definitely interesting. This whatever this ore they found can literally reproduce anything that you can think of. Uh, shirt fabric, uh, shirt fabric, a couch, a car. They even have an entire level that's supposed to be a recreation of New York City, which is definitely seen better days in the game because something's going on because everyone that you went there with uh, goes missing. Mm, yeah, I'm not gonna be spoilery. Basically, everyone you go with goes missing, and all the people that were there go missing completely. There's not a trace of anyone else around. But now it's basically you and this robot girl that finds you, and you're just trying to bring power back to the station and get a message down to Earth that something's happening here and we need your help. Uh, what I think's interesting about the game's combat is that you only really get one weapon in the entire game. Well, one main weapon. I think about halfway through the story you do get another one, but I personally like the first one that you get better, so I stick with that one. It's this pistol that has decently high damage, decent fire rate, and another mechanic called heat, where if you heat up a robot through your weapon's primary fire enough, it causes them to like malfunction, and then you can do this critical attack on them. The other main weapon you can get is a rifle with much lower damage, faster fire rate, and it says that it when you hit the critical spots of a weapon of an enemy, it builds up slightly more heat, but I think the pistol still did better. I can definitely test that out again when I go to finish the game, but I personally think that the pistol was better. But I think they're called no, not stratagems. Well, you have offensive and supportive secondary weapons, which are these limited time weapons, or limited ammo weapons. The pistol and rifle automatically reload when you're not using them, or refresh ammo when you're not using them. But the offensive and defensive ones, those have a hard limit. So once you're done with them, you lose them. And in the beginning, you only get 2 slots to use. Well, you only get 2 slots, left and right on the D-pad for console. And you can only carry 1 offensive one and 1 supportive one, and then you get another one which is down on the D-pad, which I can't remember what that one is, but I think it's more like a support or defensive. I think it's more like defensive stuff. But eventually in the game, you do get access to an additional slot on both the left and right side. Uh, huh. I think on some of the level design, there were some things that I get that there's a lot of games that you need to do backtracking for, like you get this new ability or this new item that allows you to unlock these other things, so now you can go back to a prior level to get things there that you didn't have. But I feel like in Pragmata, it was kind of unnecessary for them to do that, because each each location in the game has like 5 to 7 different like levels to it, but there was only maybe like 2 items maximum in each of the areas that you needed to backtrack for with a new ability, and I feel like it just really wasn't needed. It kind of slowed the story down a bit. Uh, um, but for now, I'm really enjoying the game. And I think the last game that I'll talk about is Subnautica 2. Back in the day when Subnautica 1 first came out, I was all over that game. And I mean all over it. I would take my laptop to school and spend, or I'd go to school like 2 hours earlier than you normally would and just play Subnautica in the lunchroom, and some of my friends would just sit there and watch me play it. So when Subnautica 2 came out, and finding out that it was multiplayer was definitely the most interesting part about it for me and my friends right now. When we load into the game, oh man, I gotta say, when you play with people that, I don't know if they have, I think it's thalassophobia, the fear of deep seas, oceans, and like the creatures in them, that thing. When you have 2 people that are scared shitless like that, it is some of the funniest goddamn things that you will ever see in your life. we we picked out a location for our base at first, and it was the worst location ever because there were some hostile enemies there that just kept, every time you'd leave the base's opening, you'd get nipped by them, and they'd you could scare them away by hitting them, but unlike the first game, it seems that they don't want you to kill any of the sea creatures in here, asides the ones that you can eat. So you really couldn't deal with any of the hostile enemies in a meaningful way. So I think after maybe 2 hours of constantly getting nipped in the ass by these creatures, we just had to go and move the base. But since the game is in open beta right now, lo and behold, we already ran into one bug that would not let us deconstruct the base entirely. So now we just have this little room sitting in the ocean that we can't do anything with. But we eventually moved our base over to a location that had pretty much every resource except for one of them, which I think was silver. But it wasn't too bad. To go back a little bit, when you first load up the game and you have to go to the other sea pod, oh my god, my friend was so scared to even just to go anywhere but the location. And he eventually dared me to just swim down as far as I could, and me being the bravest one of the group and having absolutely no fear of what could happen in that game, I just started swimming down and down and down, and eventually I just wound up drowning. So yeah, in the very beginning of the game, there's like nothing in the sea for you to actually go and interact with. I'd say they're doing a pretty good job with the game so far. They've definitely got some elements in there that I think they could work better on. I'd have to revisit them, but one of them is definitely uh, adding more functions to the base, because it doesn't seem like there's any structural integrity system yet. And not to say that like that's bad, like, you know, the base needs to be able to be destroyed, but it was just something that definitely added to the realism factor of it, considering that you're, you know, on an alien world. Um, but if we kept exploring the island a lot. Oh, hi Shinx. My cat's back. We definitely kept exploring more of it. We we kind of just said screw the story for a little while, just because the notifications were like really annoying, and there was just so much to go and explore that we just kind of sidelined the whole story. Uh, I think some of the leviathans that they have right now in the game, there's only like three that you can actually find. One being a giant clam that when you disturb a certain part of it, it just closes up on you and then fills the whole clamshell with, I think it was acid or something, or like some toxin. I personally didn't get to run into that one yet, but the two friends I'm playing with did. And another one, which I think is the most interesting, was the Collector Leviathan. It's this giant octopus that just goes around, and if you get too close, it's kind of... I don't know if it's like a psychic shockwave or an electrical shockwave or just a sonic shockwave, but it'll let out like this burst of something like rippling effect around it, and then come and eat you. And oh boy, my two friends, one of them kept saying like, I think the rest of the game is on the other side of this abyss, but it's guarded by that Leviathan, so we can't go there yet, so I don't know what the hell we're supposed to do. And as he's saying this, I'm just slowly swimming across it, and eventually when he's trying to tell us what he thinks, he's like, "Hey, where the hell are you? I'm over here." And He sees me like 600 meters past the Leviathan that was guarding the area he was talking about. He's like, how'd you get past that? And it's just like, I swam. That's all there is to it. I just swam. Uh, and I don't know if it's because I wasn't the host of it and that's why it wasn't completely aggro to me, but it was pretty funny that I just swam past the big scary monster that he couldn't figure out how to get past, and we eventually set up a new base there. Oh my god. I'm very tired right now. It's 5 in the morning for me. I guess what I'll say for now is, for Subnautica, I think where they're heading so far is pretty good. Definitely a lot more to explore for the game, and my other friend did show me the I don't know if it's the official map or like the what is it called when the roadmap, the developer's roadmap of the game, but I saw a map of it, and it's like the open beta for it's only like an eighth of the actual game. So even with how big it felt right now, there's definitely a lot more to explore in there, which is definitely going to be good. Well, this was a mess and all over the place. So for now, it's time to take off the mask and let it collect dust once again. I hope to see you all in the next episode. Please use the link to leave a review, comment. For the YouTube, you can subscribe if you want. Leave a comment. I'd really like some feedback to know how, or more or less what kind of content you'd like to see in the future. And I'll definitely try to better prepare for my next episode than this, because I definitely know I was all over the place once again. Well, as I said, time to let the mask collect some dust once again.